Too hot for TV.
Welcome back to Doctor Who Too Hot for TV. We are the podcast that looks at all things Doctor Who Extended Universe, except today we're going to be dabbling in Doctor Who on TV, but perhaps not the Doctor Who you expect. And to go on this adventure with me, I'm joined by Si Hart. Si, how are you?
Hello, Dylan. It's good to be back.
It's wonderful to have you back. So let's jump straight to it. What are we covering today?
Well, I was listening to one of your episodes recently, and I think it was the wonderful Mr. Oscar Groucho's, who mentioned in passing John Pertwee's last appearance as the... Well, he spoke a lot about John Pertwee's last appearance as the Doctor on Surprise, Surprise, but he also mentioned the Vodafone advert with John Pertwee, and this got me thinking, because you'd invited me back and said, well, what do you want to cover? And so I thought, well, let's delve into the wonderful, weird, strange world of Doctor Who advertising.
Excellent. And delve we have. Now, before we kick off, I would say this isn't an exhaustive list. So if you're like, oh, you missed that, you missed this. Hey, if enough people go, you've missed this, and this, then maybe we'll come back and do the others.
Yeah.
But I feel like we've got a good overview of advertising related to Doctor Who from the classic series through to not quite the present day, but certainly up until, a few years ago.
Yeah.
And it might be tie-in merch, it might be things Doctor Who's been used to sell. We've avoided trailers because I think that's a podcast in itself, probably.
Definitely.
It's very much like tie-in stuff and, the different ways Doctor Who has been exploited, I guess, over the years. And I think there's some pretty standard ones and some pretty surprising ones as well.
Absolutely. New Zealand seemed to come out very well in Doctor Who adverts, bizarrely.
Yeah. New Zealand and Australia. They've got loads of them.
Mm-hmm. And I often wonder if it's just because the actors were happy to go and play those roles somewhere not in the UK where they were based, where they weren't going to be then suddenly back remembered as the Doctor to the general public again. So they could get away with it somewhere over the other side of the world, take the money, have a nice trip and enjoy themselves and come back and they've got something new to talk about, but something that we in the UK possibly wouldn't get to see.
I remember there was a big thing in the 80s and 90s that Hollywood stars would go over to like Japan and China and do adverts thinking they would never be seen anywhere. And then the internet happened and everyone was like, why is Brad Pitt advertising bubble tea? And it's because, they paid him a lot of money to go over there. He got to go to Japan or wherever and do a cheesy advert. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, absolutely. If you're going to pay for the trip and go and just do a couple of days' work and then have a week in Japan off the back of it, then why not?
So can you remember the first Doctor Who advert you ever saw?
Oh, now that's a really good question because I can't remember seeing any when I was a kid because obviously no one would be touching Doctor Who in the 80s advert-wise. So it's sort of the wilderness years, really. And the big one that I remember wasn't actually on TV itself. And the one that I was thinking of when I started this was the adverts for Volkswagen Golf with John Pertwee, Tom Baker and Peter Davison. And the massive billboards of them sort of around London and things like that. So in my holidays from uni, I worked for a transport firm. And so I was just driven round all day and we'd just be passing all these massive billboards with Tom Baker sort of glaring out at you through the back of a windscreen and stuff. And I always remember DWB or Dreamwatch, whichever they were, doing a big sort of news article on this and someone obviously was on the inside in the studio with them and saying how they were all sort of getting on, and Davison was just sort of trying to keep Pertwee and Tom happy the whole time and keep them separated.
Brilliant. And because it was all about the size of the boot space, wasn't it? In terms of that was sort of why they were it's the whole bigger on the inside thing.
That's right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Your standard advertising thing, really.
I remember in a fanzine reading somewhere that apparently Tom Baker, like John Pertwee, didn't know that Tom Baker was coming or something like that, and they'd booked them all separately, which maybe that's just a bit of fanciful thinking from fans, but it does sound remarkably plausible.
It does, and maybe, yeah, it's on the day that both of them sort of found out, and then by then they're under contract, they're not going to get out of this, and they've just got to get on with it. I mean, there's all the wonderful old stories of Tom Baker and John Pertwee being in the same sort of voiceover places back in the day doing their adverts, and Tom just sort of making cheeky comments about, oh, you'll never guess how much I was paid for this one. Oh my God, just in Pertwee's earshot, just to really wind him up.
I can absolutely believe that. The weird rivalry between Tom Baker and John Pertwee is something that I wish there was a way to delve into a little bit more, but it's just little bits of hearsay here and there, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's what makes it all the more tantalising.
Indeed. The first advert that I ever saw was for Doctor Who video after the 1991 Time Medley. Well, I can't put my hand on my heart and say there wasn't one when I was like 3 years old, but that's the first one I remember. And because I had it on video, recorded off the telly, I saw it again and again and again. So it's one I'm very familiar with. But we'll get to the BBC VHS range adverts a little bit later.
Yes.
But we should journey all the way back to the 60s to talk about the Wool's Skyray lollies.
Will Doctor Who skate this time? Buy Wool's new shaped Skyray with double flavours of raspberry and orange. And you get a free colour picture card, one of a series showing Doctor Who and the Space Raiders battling with Daleks. Free when you buy Wool's new shaped Skyray. Only 6 months.
Yes. Now, this one would be very familiar to lots of fans because it was on the More Than 30 Years in the TARDIS video, so as the first advert break. And it really kind of sets the pattern for what we're going to see throughout Doctor Who advertising history.
Yeah.
It's got a version of the Doctor Who theme that's not entirely unlike the Doctor Who theme, but obviously they don't want to pay the BBC and Ron Grainer and Warner Chappell for all the rights for it. So you've usually got the sort of dum-da-dums with a different tune played over the top.
Yeah.
You've got someone who's not quite the Doctor.
Yes, well, but you can't see him because he's got his hands in front of his face.
Exactly. So it's just about convincing.
Yeah. The weird thing about the music is, as you say, we'll come to this more and more, but I don't think it's that Doctor Who-y. I think what they've done at the beginning is looped it up, so it sort of goes dum-da-dum, dum-da-dum, but I don't think that's how the actual song goes. I could be wrong,
right.
But there's almost like it almost feels like a glitchy sort of tape splice where they've just, so it sort of goes dun-da-dun, dun-da-dun, and everybody goes, oh, it's Doctor Who. And then actually, it's a bit more John Smith and the Common Men, whatever that song's called.
Sort of random 60s stock music, isn't it?
Yeah. The thing that always got me about this, even as a kid when I first saw it on 30 Years in the TARDIS, is the effort they've gone to make a TARDIS set, which both doesn't look much like the TARDIS, but is also recognisably the TARDIS, but also looks quite good.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's beautifully silver, and it's a pretty decent attempt at something, and they've obviously got a tiny set and not much budget, but they've used it wisely just to give the essence of it all.
It feels like something out of a Doctor Who annual, that TARDIS set.
Yes, definitely, and not quite Patrick Troughton sort of works with that as well.
Yeah, but we get a Dalek prop in there, don't we?
And it's a proper BBC Dalek prop as well.
Yeah,
from the looks of it, it's and it's beautifully shot. It looks really pristine.
And in colour too, because what is this? This is 67, something like that, is it? Yeah. So it's fairly early on. And obviously we get the ice lollies floating through space. The ice lollies that still exist to this day.
Yeah, they do.
They talk about the free cards you get with them, which I collected those cards. Doctor Who and the Space Raiders battling with Daleks. I collected those cards as a kid. I don't know whether I've got a full set. Obviously, I wasn't a kid in the 60s. But
no. You're looking very good on it, considering.
We picked them up in like junk shops and things like before. Before people had really cottoned on that these things were possibly worth some money. Birmingham was just full of second-hand shops where you'd pick up Target books and little things like that. So I must dig them out. I can't guarantee there's the full set, but
I don't think I've ever seen any of the cards ever. So
there's those ones, and then there's some cigarette cards as well that have got William Hartnell not dressed like William Hartnell.
Yeah.
He's dressed like a spaceman. Brilliant. Just it's that. The thing is, like in the 60s, the iconography's not quite fully set, so you can do things like that. You go, well, we have changed the TARDIS. We'll change what Doctor Who looks like. He doesn't have to wear the same clothes. It's just sort of everything's still up for grabs a little bit.
Yeah, I love that period. I find it really fascinating what they think they can get away with in the name of Doctor Who. I've always been a huge fan of the Doctor Who annuals and stuff, particularly the sort of 60s and 70s one where anything went and they just sort of did what they wanted and slapped Doctor Who on top of it. It's a really sort of fascinating snapshot of places that we don't go to sort of anymore.
Because we know the format now, and we like to say that Doctor Who can be anything it wants, and it can, but it's still very much
within certain parameters.
Yeah. I want to move on from there to Mr. Men and Doctor Who.
This is the house of Mr. Men and Doctor Who. Come on through. Streets Mr. Men and Doctor Who. Have something new. Collect the senses. They're fun to trace. There's two in every pack. Streets Mr. Men and Doctor Who. Have stencils just for you at supermarkets now.
Still sort of sticking with confectionery, I guess you'd say.
Yes.
I mean, this is one I'd never seen before. I think you brought this to my attention.
Yeah, it was one when I was delving into this. And it ties in with another ad that we'll be talking about in a bit. So probably we should talk about both of them together. So
yeah, why not?
So Doctor Who and Mr. Men. This is from Australia in 1982 and was obviously a promotion that they were doing for ice lollies. So there's a range of Mr. Men ice lollies, which I think we had in the UK or something similar. I certainly remember some Mr. Men lollies being around. The Mr. Men, like Doctor Who, were massively merchandised and slapped on anything to make a bit of money. So that was good. And then Australia got a range of Doctor Who ice lollies as well. And then this ad had an incredibly catchy song. And the advert says that you get packs of 10 of these lollies and a two free stencils in every pack. Yeah. And the stencils looked really cool. I particularly want the K9 one, which looked amazing.
It looked great. Quite a trippy advert, though, because there's these kids sort of running through a corridor.
Yeah.
And the Mr. Men, and they obviously haven't got any money to do anything particularly sort of out there. So there's just these weird sort of cardboard cutouts that get shot out of doors.
Yeah, it's like the great big packaging coming out of the doors at them. But yeah, it was fun.
Very odd, very short, as a lot of these things are. But as you say, that Australia also get the Streets Ice Cream Doctor Who, where we get a fully animated Doctor Who advert.
The first Doctor Who ice treat. Observe a choc top, vanilla and interstellar choc chips. Necros, clever skies.
Interstellar choc chips.
Pity he couldn't stay. Meet Streets Doctor Who with interstellar choc chips in packs of 10 at supermarkets now.
But Doctor Who invented them.
Who else?
And as far as I can see, this is the very first ever Doctor Who animation anywhere in the world.
Yeah, I think it would be.
Mm-hmm.
We get the Doctor and K9 fighting against his notorious enemy, Necros.
Yeah, not to be confused with the planet.
Yes, indeed. It's a wonderful little moment in time. It's a wonderful little oddity that just to see, because K9's voice is wrong. It's not
Yes.
Tom Baker, and they've tried to create a tiny little mini adventure in sort of 25 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, God bless them for giving it a go. It's a very slight adventure where Necros has captured the Doctor Who ice lolly with its intergalactic chocolate chips that are part of the ice lolly, frozen them in time, but he's posing as the Doctor, and then the Doctor comes in and works out that he's not him and says, "Oh, Necros, my old enemy," and then changes him back. That's a brilliant disguise. Changes him back and defeats him and freezes him. And then K9 asks who invented this Doctor Who ice lolly, and the Doctor says, "Who indeed?"
It's great fun. I often wonder, there's all sorts of Doctor Who collectibles that people collect, packaging, things like that. But do any things like Doctor Who ice lollies survive anywhere? Because occasionally you see, like, on eBay, someone's got some chocolates from the 70s.
Yes.
Obviously, you just have to keep them out of very warm temperatures. But I mean, is there a big trading market for sort of old school ice creams and stuff like that?
I have never seen any for sale. So, I guess not. I guess because if you sold them, how would you transport them to someone?
Yeah,
so
very true.
This is the difficult bit. It's kind of difficult, really. So
it'd be like when they've got transplant lungs and livers and things like that they've just plucked out of somebody. You pack them in ice, fly them in a 40 grand helicopter across the country.
Yeah, blue light them all the way, and off you go.
Have to be a very rich collector to be in that market, I think.
Yep. But if anyone's got any, do let us know. And
please write in.
And I want to know what they tasted like, because they sound foul.
Is it like really old wine, vintage wine and vintage beers that people buy, and they get together and they pay thousands of pounds and just each hand it around and have a lick each until it's gone?
I'm not sure I'm in the market for trying an ice lolly that's sat in a freezer since 1981.
Some 40, 50-year-old milky, some frozen milk just doesn't...
doesn't sound like a good idea to me. But apparently they paid quite a lot for the ads and then couldn't use them for very long because they commissioned them in 1981 when Tom Baker is changing into Peter Davison. Even in Australia, I think they went into Peter Davison fairly quickly. So Tom wasn't the current Doctor, and so they went to all this effort, and then it wasn't used as much as they'd hoped.
It's a rookie mistake,
Absolutely.
Always check if your Doctor's signed up for another season.
Mm-hmm.
I guess while we're talking about edibles, we should talk about Weetabix.
Attention all Daleks, look for these special Doctor Who packs of Weetabix. Each one has one of these 4 Doctor Who action games, 3 of these stand-up figures, and a secret message from the Time Lords. We must capture these special packs of Weetabix and exterminate.
Collect the special Doctor Who Weetabix packs and enjoy your daily wheat while stocks last.
Now, keen listeners may remember Conrad coming on and talking about Weetabix in detail a while ago, and I did play the advert then, but I don't think we covered the advert in too much detail. So, I mean, what do you think of this one?
It's a very nice Dalek.
Isn't it?
Yeah, it's black with red and looks really great and shiny. So it's one of Terry Nation's film props that they've used for this one. Obviously had a bit of a respray and a bit of Weetabix money spent on it. So it's looking really good, and they've got a sort of really nice set for it, or to sort of go through sort of a bit of a sci-fi maze. So that's a nice shiny set for John Scott Martin to pilot it round.
Yeah, it's a really cool little advert.
Yeah,
very, very 70s. It makes me slightly annoyed that we got stuck with the same Dalek color scheme for ages after Genesis, because I would love to have seen that one and a few others. Like, I think Daleks look cool in color. I think Peter Cushing movies got that right. I think it's the only thing they got right in Victory of the Daleks with the redesign, is that they look cool in different colors.
Yeah. And who doesn't like a red Dalek?
Yeah.
It's something we've seen sort of once on TV, and then it was burgundy rather than really bright red. So a lovely, shiny red Dalek. I really like that.
The campaign starts here to get
Yeah.
them to season 3.
And we've got a Dalek voiced by John Scott Martin here.
Oh, is that who's doing
It's
the voice?
John Scott, yes, yeah.
Incredible. His moment has come.
It is. So, he every so often he would be drafted in. So things like when they had a Dalek appear on Nationwide or Blue Peter, sometimes if he was there, they'd get him to do the voice as well. So it's very, very definitely John Scott Martin doing this Dalek voice. So the modulation's not quite right, but it gives you the essence of a Dalek.
Yeah, I don't think it's too bad.
I've heard worse.
Yeah. I think, it reminds me sort of the Michael Wisher sounding Daleks, perhaps.
Yes.
It's not quite the classic skeleton voice, but yeah, he does a good job. I hadn't clocked that it was him at all.
Yeah, so obviously it probably saves them a bit of money if they've got someone who could do the voice and manoeuvre the Dalek at the same time.
Yeah, I'm surprised they haven't cottoned onto that sooner, to be honest, on the
Yeah.
TV show. Shall we talk about Dennis Fisher?
Oh, yes, because we've got a couple of Dennis Fishers
Yeah.
to do, haven't we? So are we going to keep with the Daleks and go for War of the Daleks first?
The war of the Daleks is being fought. The Daleks must exterminate to protect their control center. They must attack.
Fight the War of the Daleks with this fantastic new game from Dennis Fisher.
Yes, because, I mean, if you think John Scott Martin's Dalek voice is iffy, then you've got...
This is really iffy.
Yeah.
I hadn't seen this one before you sent me the link for this one, so...
Yeah, so it's a reconstruction, isn't it? It doesn't...
Yeah.
The actual thing doesn't exist, but there's enough of it there to give a feel, because the audio exists, but the visuals don't. So there's a sort of telesnap reconstruction.
Yeah. I'm good at... This is what fans are for. This is what we love. So it was probably a fairly basic advert, sort of showing the gameplay, showing those beautiful little Daleks that are part of the game, so the gold ones and the silver ones, and attacking and taking out your different your doctors and things like that. So yeah,
fun little advert. Again, we're building up this picture of all of these adverts have these knockoff Doctor Who themes and these questionable voiced, be it Daleks, K9 or Doctors. Like, it's quite interesting to me that the BBC are willing to license these things, but they're not willing to go the extra mile in terms of licensing, sort of, when we get into the likenesses of the voices. And like, maybe it's because the actual people are too expensive, or whether the BBC want more money or what. I don't know what it is, but they go so far and the BBC go, that's fine, it's near enough Doctor Who, you're allowed to go and do it. But we don't care if K9 and the Daleks' voices are wrong.
Yeah, and I often wonder whether it's sort of also something, particularly in the UK, about the adverts being on ITV when Doctor Who is very much a BBC programme. So you could go that little bit, but you can't go the whole way. And having Tom Baker voicing this would feel probably kind of wrong in the 70s, something like that.
Absolutely. And I guess when we get to adverts that feature other actors, that feature the actual actors, they tend to be New Zealand or Australia or places like that, where they're not on the rival channel, essentially.
No, and there's a whole series of adverts where that kind of Doctor Who adjacent, where you've got one of the lead actors doing something with a bit of a nod and a wink to his Doctor Who role. So Peter Davison was particularly masterful for this, with his Tefal adverts for the air saucepans with real copper bottoms and real teak handles. And there's always the sort of just what the Doctor ordered or something like that pun at the end.
People can't resist it.
No.
From outer space, the famous TARDIS brings Time Lord, Doctor Who, and the amazing Leela, ready to do battle against their mighty enemies, the fearful Cyberman, the giant robot, and one of the deadly Daleks. Whilst Leela covers him, the Doctor reaches the TARDIS in time and disappears to escape from the Dalek. Doctor Who, Leela, the fearful inhabitants of outer space, and the TARDIS. From Dennis Fisher. Fantastic.
Also from Dennis Fisher, we obviously get an advert for the Dennis Fisher toys, which features Doctor Who and the amazing Leela as the
And
voiceover
she
says.
is amazing as well. She's got amazing hair.
She does. The rarest of the figures, I believe, because obviously, apparently it didn't sell as well or something like that. Because
No, because little boys weren't allowed to have dolls.
Well, exactly.
I had that very argument with my dad once. And I did not get a Leela doll.
Yeah, even if it's a doll that wields a knife.
Exactly. Yeah, it's not allowed.
See, this is interesting. And like, when I was a kid, I remember wanting a My Little Pony and a He-Man toy and getting both of those things.
Okay.
So, I mean, I think I'm about 8 or 9 years younger than you, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder whether it sort of got to a point, even then, in the slightly less liberal 80s, where parents were going, well, no, it's fine if a boy wants a doll or what have you, but it was a very pink My Little Pony that I had, and a very masculine He-Man that used to ride on top of it.
But my brother won't thank me for this, but my brother used to play with my sister's My Little Ponies, and she had a particular doll that he really loved and sort of took in as his own eventually. But yeah, and he grew up to be incredibly straight, so who knows?
There you go. It's not just in the toys you play with, is it?
It's not at all.
I love this advert for Dennis Fisher. I don't think I was aware it had existed until a few years ago. But of course, why wouldn't the toys released at the most popular era of the classic series not have an advert?
Absolutely. And I love that they've created a whole mini adventure the way that children would have done when they were playing with these toys. And there's very much a genre of advert that sort of lasted into this century, where you've got the toys and there's a mini adventure with them. And this one features the Doctor being chased by Daleks and fleeing into the TARDIS, and you get to see the magic TARDIS with its where the figures will go in and then disappear.
Yeah.
And Leela holds the Dalek off, so she's doing her stuff. It's just really lovely.
And it's so 70s and perfect. It captures the era so perfectly. And the toys, but they're just so 70s. They're Action Man and Barbie, We're not quite... Yeah. Star Wars hasn't happened yet, so we're not at the smaller figures yet. And they're fantastic toys. They look great in the advert. The TARDIS looks great. And it doesn't matter that the Cyberman's got a nose or that Leela's got Barbara's hair.
No, no, it's not. I think they show the toys off at their very best. They're sort of front and center in this advert. You've got two 70s children. They're sort of playing with them. Not quite as brilliant as the child from the Weetabix advert, who does the most wonderful look round in terror and gets a freeze frame cliffhanger as well.
Shortly after we discussed doing this, I watched the advert and I was like, do you know what? I should pick up some of those toys. And I went on eBay and I went, nope.
This is where I was always kind of sad that I was just a few years too young to be there for those toys. So they'd kind of disappeared from the shops by the time I was getting into Doctor Who. But my cousin, who's 10 years older, had a whole set.
Wow.
And was and is a massive Doctor Who fan, so he still has them all. But
Incredible.
when I went to his house, I'd be allowed to play with them for a bit.
Cousins always had cooler toys, didn't they?
Yeah, I know, it's really annoying. I have one of the K9s. He's missing most of his appendages, like most K9 toys are. But I'm very pleased to have him. But that's the only one I've got.
Yeah, it would be lovely to get them all. There's certain things that over time you can collect them all, and I did all the Eighth Doctor adventures a few years ago, and it was like you look out and you get some bargains, and there's a couple you spend more for. But the Dennis Fisher toys seem to be consistently at a price level where to get the full set you are spending thousands of pounds.
Yeah, and of course, the older they get, the scarcer they're going to get. Sort of, particularly in good condition that haven't been sort of around. So yeah, it's just one of those things that just becomes more and more impossible, and you're better off with your day pulse.
Well, indeed, you may be able to see.
I can see a few behind you. Yes. They
Still
sadly never got an advert.
No, but still affordable on a day price.
Yes.
Shall we head back over to Australia and talk about keeping Australia beautiful?
Why do you want to go to Australia? You know nothing about Australia?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Well,
I've been reading all about it. Look. Australia, a sunburnt country of sweeping plains, rugged mountain ranges of droughts and flooding rains. Banjo Patterson, you see, I know everything. Go on, ask me something else.
population,
14 million.
size,
Big?
Bradman's best test score,
428.
Australia's most famous export,
Well, Dame Edna Everett.
advantages,
Well, terrific weather, wonderful beaches, lots of water, healthy places, healthy people, lots of space.
disadvantages,
Well, I mean, according to the latest microscan, none.
incorrect. Update of microscan information reveals new situation. Australia is dirty, littered, imminent collapse of life support systems due to pollution.
Well, there you are then. That's why I've got to go down there. I've got to go down there and tell them to keep Australia beautiful. That's important. I'll tell them to keep Australia beautiful. It's important. Can I go now, sir? Thank you. It is important. Keep Australia beautiful.
Yeah, so this is Tom Baker in his ascendancy. Sort of late 70s Tom, very much in Graham Williams' Doctor Who style. And he's there in the scarf, in the costume, talking to a computer about basically some facts about Australia and actually, although it's a lovely country, what's going wrong with it.
Yeah, and the fact is, it's dirty.
Yes. So sorry, all you Australians, you've made a mess of your country.
See, and they thought climate change started with Greta Thunberg, but Tom Baker was at it many years before.
Yeah, absolutely was on it. So it starts beautifully with him reading. He says, I've got a book of facts about Australia, and in true Tom Baker form, it's a copy of Wind in the Willows. Probably with his script in the middle.
Quite possibly.
And then he's asked lots of questions to show how much he knows about Australia.
There's a couple of things about this. You said he's in his costume. I don't actually think he's in his costume. I think he's in his Mac.
I was in his Mac, but I think I was taken in by the scarf, you see.
But he's wearing the scarf. And the first time I watched it, I was like, oh, he's in costume. But it's like, it strikes me, he's looking a little clammy, but, Australia's a hot place. But I'm wondering whether he was there on tour for something else and was roped in to do it at the last moment. He's like, well, I've only got the scarf. And maybe he's had a few Fosters at lunchtime. I don't know.
It seems fairly likely.
Yeah, but he's looking like he's having a great time.
Mm-hmm.
Taking it seriously in a Doctor way, but not quite as seriously as he might take the TV show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I seem to remember Nathan Bottomley saying he met Tom Baker in the late 70s, so he must have gone for a promotional tour or something, sort of around that time. So maybe sort of between season 17 and season 18, that seems to be about right.
Yeah, I would say this is around season 17, because I think he goes back for season 18 to do the first lot of Prime Computer adverts, judging by his costume.
Yes.
Doctor, the universe is about to end.
What?
We need the orbital coordinates of 900 planets of the constellation of Castorberus in 17 seconds.
17 seconds.
16.
Constellation of Castorberus in how many seconds?
11.
Good interaction so far. 900 planets.
10.
Excellent response.
Come on, Doctor.
900 planets in how many seconds?
3.
3 seconds.
1 second, Doctor.
1 second. Well done, Prime.
Prime Computer.
Not so loud.
Prime Computer.
That's better.
There's definitely two lots of this, isn't there? There is Tom and Lala in season 17, perhaps not as cozy as they were. Then there's them in their season 18 clothes. She's in her Destiny of the Daleks outfit. And they've obviously gone public at this point because the adverts
absolutely play into that, don't they?
Yeah. And it's the most flirty behaviour I've ever seen.
I know
they're actors, but I don't feel that there was any acting required.
No, their chemistry is legendary anyway. But here, where they're sort of freed from being in the BBC, I think they are just going for it. And I mean, Lala's absolutely flirty as hell. Look at that bit where she just looks straight down the camera and says, "It's terribly interactive." It's just like the sexiest thing in the world. I mean, she's gorgeous anyway, but she looks absolutely radiant there.
Yeah. It is like I was I had seen it before,
Mm-hmm.
but I was shocked at what they were allowed to get away with in terms of their relationship in the later adverts.
Absolutely. Marry the girl doctor.
Yeah, it's so wonderful. But I guess let's jump back a little bit to the earlier ones where
Yes.
there's the chemistry between, I would say, in the first ones, they're very much the Doctor and Romana, and perhaps the later ones, they're two people who
They're
are
Tom
chatty.
Baker and Lana Ward, yeah.
But I just love the whole setup of these. You know, we get sort of through different adverts, they're set in like a big white void because they can't afford to do the TARDIS. But,
No.
you know,
But obviously they're selling the computer, so they want to show that off.
yeah, we get an exterior TARDIS and a couple of they're by some brutalist architecture and stuff like that. We even get a Romana captured and with doing a big scream at one point.
Yeah.
It feels like a little extra bit of that era that you just haven't seen before.
Absolutely. I put something on Blue Sky. I just put It's Terribly Interactive with a GIF of her earlier on today. And someone said, oh, I really love season 17B. And it really feels like it's sort of capturing that moment and that relationship sort of at its peak.
It feels more like Tom and Lala of the time than some of the Big Finish plays do. Let's put it like that.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's a real playfulness between them. And just that moment where sort of the Doctor strides into his redecorated TARDIS and just Romana sort of saying, do you like it? And he says, well, of course I like it. At last, I'm up to date.
It's absolutely brilliant. And it feels like at that point, the adverts sort of die off a bit in the 80s, as we were saying earlier on.
Yeah.
Like, I can't say for certain there aren't any out there. And there are certainly adverts that use Doctor Who people that, as you say, some might have a knowing wink. But it doesn't really feel like there's much out there.
No. I wonder also if this is JNT sort of clamping down on that kind of thing and saying, oh, we're not having this kind of thing going on. It sort of weakens the brand.
Yeah, quite possibly. But, I mean, do you think it weakens the brand?
No, I think it sort of strengthens it. I think it sort of adds it sort of into the culture and sort of embeds it really that it's there. So, yeah, I would have no objections to that, but I can't imagine what they would be getting Colin Baker and Sylvester McCoy to advertise. Wow. Although I say this because, and I forgot this, there were a series of radio adverts with Sylvester McCoy and Sophie Eldred and Cybermen for Panasonic batteries.
Oh, wow.
In the very late 80s. And this has just occurred to me right now. This has just popped into my head as we were doing that. And they did those in character.
Do you know, I've never heard of those.
Ah,
That's
right. We'll have to try and find a link for you to do that. But yeah, there's just little audio snapshot, little tiny adventures.
That's amazing. Okay. Well, but they weren't on TV.
They weren't on TV, so they really were too hot for TV.
I mean, I guess you could have Colin Baker as the Golden Wonder promotion.
True, yeah.
Dapol toys. And I think, like you say, it does make the brand stronger because if you can advertise the brand on a rival channel in the 80s, that's good going, right?
Absolutely. And particularly for Doctor Who, it could have done with all the help it could get. So, I mean, the Golden Wonder thing seems like a sort of lost thing that it should have had sort of huge promotion. It was hugely popular at the time. I remember everyone at school collecting those comics, even though they weren't Doctor Who fans, because they were given away in the multi-packs and people liked to get those things and swap them to get the whole sets and things like that. And you could save your packets up to get your Doctor Who calendar for 1987 as well, which I did. I had enough crisps to get that.
Of course you did. That's what you're supposed to do with those
Absolutely.
things.
That's what it's all about.
When I was at school, the big thing was Star Wars Pogs that came free in Doritos and Walker's Crisps.
Yeah,
I want to say it was when they re-released the films and then later when the prequels came out. But everybody, no matter whether they like Star Wars or not, was trying to get a full set of Star Wars Pogs.
I have several still to this day.
Yeah,
they're just kept in a random box somewhere.
Yeah. So, shall we jump a little bit into the wilderness years?
Okay.
Around 91, 92, we start to get repeats of Doctor Who on B-Sky B and then on BBC Two. And with that comes comes several adverts for Doctor Who on home media, on BBC Video.
Danger. Do not attempt to open this pod.
Generations of Time Lords have battled to contain the galaxy's most fearsome forces of evil.
Exterminate! Exterminate!
But the pod in which they are held is breaking up, and time capsules known as home videos are being released into the Earth's atmosphere.
The Daleks will go on.
It is your duty as a citizen of this solar system to track down these capsules and neutralize them through your VCR. Many modules are already circulating, and further releases are imminent. You have the power to protect your universe.
And as I mentioned earlier, one of these I remember particularly well, which is one with a voiceover by Tom Baker, and it uses a model shot from Red Dwarf with a danger, do not attempt to open this pod. And it's certainly the most, that's burned into my image as sort of an image of Doctor Who because it was on the end of my taping of the Time Meddler, and I just saw it over and over again, and it remains quite a magical bit of my childhood, considering it was only 20-odd seconds.
Yeah, it's a beautiful voiceover by Tom Baker as well. It's really, really sort of Tom in full Tom mode. And I remember that one really well with you must neutralize these pods known as BBC videos.
But there are two other adverts from the era that I don't remember at all, but I probably would have seen them, both of which are frankly a little odd.
Yes.
Now, the first one I want to talk about is one where there's just this weird flashing sort of crude art of each of the Doctors, and it sort of goes, wheel, 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 like that, and goes, who is this man? And it's just, I found it a bit of an assault on the senses.
Bizarrely, I didn't remember that one either. So I don't know where that was shown or whether it was sort of not on as often as the other ones.
Yeah.
But no, that was new to me.
Well, before the advert, it goes next week, Revelation. So it must have been after Caves of Androzani, I think, was the Davison one. And it's very brief, but it just doesn't feel like an awful lot. Like that Tom Baker one, it feels like a lot of care's been taken to make a decent advert, whereas this one is just like, it's a load of old shit, isn't it? They're like,
exactly. If we sell anything off the back of this, it will be.
And speaking of anything will do, there's an advert for the BBC home video collection, including Doctor Who, Blake 7 and Red Dwarf, that could quite easily be a spoof. Like, if you told me that, what's the guy from the Hoovers, Andy something, on Twitter, who does all
Andrew WZ, isn't it?
Yeah. If you'd have told me that he'd made this as a fake advert, I would believe you, because I mean, what is
bizarre. It's really odd. I worked out today that I think the voiceover is meant to be William Shatner as Captain Kirk talking about his friend Mr. Spock, because obviously it's sci-fi, so we've got to do Star Trek,
same, right?
And they've got a line from Red Dwarf where Rimmer says something about Mr. Spock that they can use as a punchline at the end of it, and it's really bizarre.
And they've got the video of City of Death, but they've slapped, I want to say, a bit of McCoy on there and a bit of the Crotons or something.
Yeah,
like that.
It's like they've just sort of cut out bits of the artwork and slapped it all together.
Yeah, very odd. And then there's a Blake 7 video in there. I can't remember whether that is the proper Blake 7 cover or not.
No, that's another couple of covers jammed together, and the Red Dwarf Series 3 covers were both sort of added together.
Yeah, it's really odd. Like, I just don't know. Again, it sort of stinks of somebody going, well, it's only for sci-fi nerds. Who cares about this?
Yeah, exactly.
But great to have. But I can see why those ones didn't stick in my mind, whereas the others, because I will have watched all of those repeats. So
yeah, same here. So I mean, I vaguely remembered that last one. I think because we just laughed, me and my friend Richard laughed at how shit it was even then.
Yeah.
But the Tom Baker one is done so beautifully and so carefully that that it's a shame they didn't just keep using that one.
Either that or they blew all the budget on the Tom Baker voiceover. And
that could be it.
Yeah, maybe that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Or Tom's lunchtime bill was very expensive. That's what I had to cover.
Doctor Who is back in one of the hottest computer games of the year. It's super arcade adventure all the way as you battle your way through 5 huge levels. Mutilate mutants, menace monsters, and exterminate those evil Daleks before they exterminate you. Dalek Attack, the meanest game this side of Skaro.
Another thing I hadn't seen before was an advert for the computer game Dalek Attack.
Yeah, no, that was new to me as well. And that's very much a computer game advert from the early 1990s.
It mustn't have been shown an awful lot because, I was the prime audience for Dalek Attack, and it was at an era where I was watching all of the children's television. So I don't know quite where it was advertised, but I did not see it.
No, I didn't see it at the time either. And again, I'd have been around all those shows, sort of watching with my brother and sister who were a bit younger. So, that was new to me, but it shows the game off quite well.
Yeah, I mean, that is basically the game when you see it. You get 30 seconds and it's like there's about 5 levels. You jump around as Doctor Who, there's some Daleks and some Ogrons, and that's about it. As we get sort of later into the era, we get back to New Zealand, and we've got actual Doctor Who actors again. We get both John and Tom return to their roles, sort of.
Where would people be without the telephone? Lengths of copper wire that gave everybody a speaking tube to the world.
Is there Brussels?
Well, now in New Zealand, through telecom, the humble telephone is putting a whole new future at your fingertips with this. Threads of glass that can slip through the eye of a needle and yet can carry not just one conversation, like the copper wire, but 2,000 conversations simultaneously.
Thanks, mate. Don't worry, mate, it clicks. Flash phone box, eh?
Ah, but there's more to this phone box than meets the eye. See you soon.
Was that Dr. Spock joke, wasn't it?
Should we talk about the Pertwee ones first?
Yes. So actually the Pertwee ones were a little earlier than this, I found out. So I thought they were Wilderness for Years ones, but doing a bit of digging, they were filmed in 1986.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yes. So there's a whole wonderful article about these that I found thanks to the New Zealand Doctor Who fan club.
Amazing.
And their wonderful archive. And they contacted John Pertwee to appear in a series of television commercials to promote their telecommunications business. So this was the New Zealand Post Office. And they were just about to deregulate, and they were upgrading their system, and they wanted a series of adverts to explain to people what was coming. And they actually licensed Doctor Who from the BBC so that they could get John Pertwee in to do it. And then they put him in a red phone booth instead, because obviously they're advertising that. So
yeah, makes sense.
They sent this off. And John Pertwee said they were all beautifully filmed by one of your finest directors, Sam Pillsbury, and beautiful done. And all the filming took place around Wellington in New Zealand. So, but then they weren't used for very long because as part of the deregulation, the New Zealand Post Office turned to a company called Telecom in New Zealand.
Right.
And the branding was all wrong. And so they didn't really use them.
Oh, wow. There we go. Another disaster struck.
Absolutely. And Pertwee was obviously highly distressed by this because so much work had gone into it. And
I mean, he got paid, didn't he?
Well, he did. But he says There's a quote from him described the decision to not use them as an unconscionable waste of money, which you could just hear him saying. But mostly, I think it's probably because he didn't get then the sort of exposure that he was expecting. But this is pre John Pertwee going to New Zealand for Wurzel Gummidge now. So I wonder if this sort of set all of that in motion, if he's over there and doing all of this. So sort of the times would kind of fit.
It's weird because they feel very 90s in terms of...
Yeah, the way he looks. And
yeah,
because he's got that cloak that he's wearing in 30 Years in the TARDIS and for all his promotional things. So I wonder if they bought him a new cloak and then he nicked it and took it back with him.
Yeah.
And quite said, oh, I'll just take that with me. And because then that becomes his 90s, his 90s costume, really, is that cloak with a purple jacket.
Paradise of Death photo as well. Yeah.
And your surprise appearance as well. He's got that on. So
indeed. Well, so he was holding on to that for quite a while.
Yeah. So apparently only 3 of the adverts have ever been revealed online. There were a total of 5 altogether. So there's 2 missing episodes.
Oh my God. We can't.
Which someone's got to have. No, we can't. Not even a set of adverts.
They're in the bin with the master tapes for the TARDIS somewhere, aren't they?
Yeah, so I mean, they're very much doing what he's told to do, which is set out to give information about new services that are coming. He threads a bit of fibre optic through a needle to show this new, expensive, wonderful wire that can take thousands of phone calls in one piece of...
Wait till John hears about the internet.
Blow his mind.
A word of advice. Plan for the future, and you'll be ready for anything. Of course, I hear you say. It's easy for him. He's a Time Lord. He's been there often enough. Well, let me tell you something. You don't need a Gallifreyan time capsule or even a sonic screwdriver to shape the future. The answer the whole universe has been seeking for centuries is at the end of a telephone line. New Zealand Superannuation Services. Yes, I knew you'd be surprised. Oh, they're arriving. Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Now, the Tom Baker ones that follow in the 90s.
Yeah.
Post-TV movie. I remember these being quite a big deal at the time because it was Tom Baker back in the costume and they make this cool-looking TARDIS set, which is a bit McGann TARDIS in a way, a bit smaller. I remember DWM covering them, and I want to say in the early days of the internet, I felt like it was one of the first things that you could download, like somebody had uploaded it to a website somewhere. So I had them on my family PC, and even though it's just Doctor Who selling some stuff, like any bit of new Doctor Who in the 90s was just gold dust.
And particularly getting Tom Baker back felt like such a big deal that they got him in costume playing the Doctor in a way that obviously we'd had in Dimensions in Time, but that was it. And then he'd distanced himself again from it. And yet there he was taking all this money in New Zealand and doing this series of ads and looking like he's having a great time doing it.
Absolutely. It makes me think that seeing him just in this, that even though the Dark Dimension script was largely dreadful, he possibly could have pulled it off in this guise in a way that I don't think I thought before. And there's all sorts of talk of various companies pitching a version of Doctor Who in the 90s and indeed the early noughties where they bring back an older Tom Baker, and it's this version.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's got the chops to do it. By the time you get to Little Britain Tom, he's a bit too old, and he's become Tom Baker the caricature.
Yeah, it's like Tom Baker in air quotes, really, isn't it? It's like and all of that, and again his sort of early returns on audio often playing into that more than his doctor, and it takes him time to sort of settle back down and things like that.
But here, I'm like, it's a weird thing to say for an advert where he's trying to sell me something, but he still has that magnetic gravitas in a way that, and I'm like, oh, that's Doctor Who being very serious about something. I believe this man is an alien, and I believe what he's saying, even if he's just telling me about telephone systems.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think he's selling pensions, basically.
Yeah. Oh, yes, that's it.
That's it, yes. Because however you plan on spending the future, plan on having something to spend. That is
also something that's a lot more relatable to me now than it was in the
absolutely,
in the 90s.
very much. But it's really it's beautiful. I think they've gone right into sort of 90s genre TV lighting and colouring, so it's very blue.
Yeah.
It's very, very blue. They've gone to the effort of building a wonderful TARDIS set.
Yeah,
it's really, really lovely, and there's some lovely footage of it sort of behind the scenes with them sort of working on it and interviewing Tom Baker on the set, and even he's sort of saying, you've done really well. They built him a sonic screwdriver.
I know, wild.
Yeah, and they're giving him a new costume, which is kind of like his season 18 costume, but with a fancy waistcoat and stuff.
You want that season of Doctor Who, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. It's just that little bit. I want to hear about the Krakenoids on Tar 7 who are living a life of financial drudgery. And what is a beryllium time controller?
And you get that CGI vortex as well, which doesn't look half bad for the time, you know.
No.
I was watching a lot of sci-fi on BBC Two, and that's what your time vortex would have looked like there.
Definitely, yeah, and they build a police box for one scene where the TARDIS lands and Tom Baker looks out over Auckland and just goes, "Oh yes, oh yes."
Those adverts probably cost more than all 3 episodes of Survival did.
I wouldn't be at all surprised. And again, digging into this, they also had a spin-off of their own.
What?
And they had a series there were 3 full-page articles in the New Zealand Herald, which told the story of these adverts.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and tells you a bit about the Doctor and what the offer is with the superannuation. And so apparently it says the Doctor is currently 764 years old, with 2 hearts, travels through time as easily as a shopping trip. He's visited unborn worlds and encountered many civilizations, not all of them friendly, and he's a Time Lord from Gallifrey in the constellation of Castorberus. This is deemed nice for some. The question is posed that who is better qualified to advise people how to plan for the future? Who better to be at hand when someone has decisions regarding tomorrow? It's a startling revelation that the future isn't just decided by a single Time Lord, but everyone. All they need is a number. 0800 TARDIS. Dialing the number will get someone in touch with New Zealand's superannuation services. They can help anyone plan for the future so they can enjoy the present. Another pearl of wisdom is that dialing 0800 TARDIS can mean someone can invest their savings at an even higher rate of return. The Doctor states that when you've travelled in time as much as he has, nothing much surprises him. Japan winning the Rugby World Cup in 2032, building a bridge across the Cook Strait in 2020 may have raised an eyebrow, but what he is selling is something quite special. The Doctor explains the superannuation details and states that the 21st century was a fun place to be last time he was there, and explains that you should have something to spend in the future.
Wow.
So there we go.
Anybody out there that's listening who invested because of these adverts, please let us know whether that investment paid off or whether you're living in squalor now.
Yeah, so apparently the adverts featured in the New Zealand Herald, and they were often full page and featured twice weekly.
This is great stuff. I love learning about these little corners of Doctor Who.
I just have to say thank you very much, TARDIS Wiki. You are wonderful.
Oh, brilliant. Amazing. Pertwee also does a very brief appearance in a Vodafone advert back home in the UK.
And he looks very cool. And also very cold.
Yeah. And it's a fun little advert, you know, it's a bunch of sciencey people trying to track somebody down, messing with time.
Yeah.
And they inadvertently get some guy from Liverpool who's got a karaoke machine.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, oh, where is the guy? And as they drive off, Pertwee pulls up, looks at a pocket watch and goes into a garage that's quite clearly a time machine.
Yeah, it says Doctor on call.
Yeah. And that's one of the last things he did, I believe.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. Yeah, and that was around 96, because there were a whole series of these Vodafone adverts with Carl McLachlan not being quite Fox Mulder and someone else not quite being Dana Scully, sort of as the X-Files was so popular. So, yeah, there was a whole series of these adventures. But to see John Pertwee in one was really lovely.
I mean, it's always great to see Pertwee. Like,
yeah,
he just
in the cloak.
Yeah, a magical bit of John Pertwee. Whenever he showed up, it was like, there's Doctor Who.
Mm-hmm. And he doesn't even say anything, but he looks so cool.
It's that thing of, like, in the 90s, if Peter Davison shows up on a TV show to be interviewed or whatever, you go, there's Peter Davison.
Yeah.
And John Pertwee shows up, you go, there's Doctor Who.
Absolutely. And there's this whole theory, isn't there, that John Pertwee is the Doctor of the early 1990s. He's back in the role. He's in his ascendancy again.
Yeah. He's the one on Noel's house party. He feels like weirdly one of the most present ones in Dimensions in Time. He's got his radio plays. He's in Crank Up Your Granny, for God's sake.
Yes. And that's not something you hear about very often.
No, exactly. A couple of other things as we head towards the end of the Wilderness era. There's a very low-budget advert for the remote control Dalek, starring none other than Craig Charles.
In the history of robots, one breed stands out as the epitome of evil, and they're back to wreak mayhem and havoc. On my foot! Yeah, I've got the power. Inflict your revenge this Christmas on the new remote-control Dalek. Yeah, they've got the lot, the flashing lights, electronic banter, and the idle threats. And they're all useless when it comes to climbing the stairs. The new remote-control Dalek is now available for $69.99 by dialing 0800 975 4591.
Yeah, now, this was a new one on me. I can't imagine where this advert was shown, because it's for the Stamp Centre of all places on the Strand, who used to do their weird Doctor Who first day covers and signings on weekdays and things like that.
I mean, the only thing I can think of is that we're in the era of sort of lads mags and things like that, but it's sort of post X-Files. So we've got Craig Charles, because Craig Charles is a bit of a lad and he's cool. Mm-hmm. And, you know, there's boys' toys. And
a bit of retro stuff going on.
Yeah, so it's going, lads, wouldn't you like this cool... You know, it's for somebody in their 30s, perhaps. But perhaps they're not trying to go for the nerd market. It's like, this is retro and cool, get a Dalek, because you used to like the Daleks when you were a kid.
Yeah, and you could just have one round your house by remote control. I mean, they showed the Daleks off quite nicely. They do quite well, but obviously the advertising is sort of going right into the, Daleks can't go upstairs, all of that, all those jokes that you'd expect.
I imagine it aired late night on Bravo or something like
Probably,
that.
yeah.
In between like a documentary about guns and some soft porn.
Exactly.
And the Daleks also show up in a Kit Kat advert, don't they?
Yes. Now, this was, I remember this very well from the time. I did see this advert a lot. It was on an awful lot. And this is sort of an advert of 70s and 80s icons, really, not behaving how they normally behave because they're having a Kit Kat and they're on a break from their normal thing. And I always remember this was one of the things that Russell T Davies sort of railed against when he came back, and he was saying, and we don't want the Daleks to be figures of fun like in that advert where they're just taking the mickey out of, and they've just become a cultural totem that you just laugh at, and this is what we want Dalek to be, to show people that they're dangerous and bad again.
But I think Terry Nation was always quite protective of that. But at this point during sort of the lifespan of the Daleks and Doctor Who's not been on for a long time, so they're going, well, we can just make... And I think, is Nation dead by this point?
Yeah, he would have been. So I think this is sort of early 2000s, isn't it? So he'd be dead a few years. So maybe sort of they were slightly laxer.
Yeah, and like, you know, you going, well, we don't have a TV show to put them in. It's not like someone's going to make a Dalek series without Doctor Who, so why not exploit them and make some money off them. It's very much, it's not the property they were in the 70s or even the 80s or the 60s. It's just something that someone probably offered them $2,000 to use them, and they went, brilliant. Yeah, that's money
exactly,
we don't have.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And it sort of gets them remembered, and it's like everything with Doctor Who at that point has become sort of post-TV movie where everything is sort of like Doctor Who's fondly remembered. Not like it's not like the early 90s where it's just reviled by everyone. It's sort of turning the affection, sort of coming back round and sort of showing it in an advert with various other stars of the 70s and 80s. It's like positioning it like, this is a bit of nostalgia. This is something you remember from when you were younger. And we're just going to, it's kind of affectionate and kind of lovely. And it's not quite as bad as Russell said, but obviously he's got to say those things because he's bringing the show back.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a warm affection, and not a piss take of it. It's sort of going, we can have a joke with this, but also neither are these big scary bits of people's childhood anymore.
No, exactly, no. And there's something still quite nice about a Dalek going around chanting peace and love.
Yeah. So when Doctor Who comes back, there's a few things that I think we can talk about. I think I'd actually like to go in first. There's a couple of adverts for the Radio Times.
Yes.
The Radio Times gave Doctor Who a lot of coverage and still does to this day. I remember when it came back, I was like, I'm going to collect all the Radio Times covers.
Yeah. And now it's impossible, isn't it?
Like about halfway through the Matt Smith era, I just went, I don't need a pile of Radio Times clogging up my house for the rest of forever.
No, but those first couple, sort of when the series came back, that first one where you opened it and there was the TARDIS reveal inside. Yeah. And the one for series 2 where they've got
the fold out.
With the wonderful photo of everyone sort of together, and again the sort of election one as well with the Dalek. Those are really great covers.
They've always been very supportive of Doctor Who, and I think even in the 90s when the show wasn't on air, they still did a 30th anniversary and a 40th anniversary cover, and there was various other little articles. I mean, they foolishly set up their Doctor Who page after the TV movie, expecting the show to come back, which quickly became a sci-fi page and then became we're getting rid of this.
Yes.
But always very supportive. There's two little adverts. One of them, a Cyberman cover.
Doctor Who fans, get ready for this week's Radio Times. With every issue, there's a free Doctor Who sticker album and exclusive poster. Just make sure you get yours.
Yeah.
Which, it's got a kid impersonating Cybermen that drops through the door, and it's like, Doctor Who is back in the cultural zeitgeist.
Absolutely, yeah. And sort of the family's involved with this, and it's about kids being creative and enjoying themselves and desperately wanting the next bit of Doctor Who merchandise, like us. Exactly. Yeah, this is the next generation coming up who want their free Radio Times BBC Cyberman poster, which I did buy and do have. Yep.
Did you know there've actually been 10 Doctor Who's? Yeah, the Daleks were originally called the Mutants, and TARDIS stands for Time and Relative Dimensions in Space.
Radio Times. You're more informed because we're more informed.
And then the next one is a little bit more of a love letter to the whole show. It's Radio Times discussing about the facts behind Doctor Who with this setup of a traffic jam and horns playing the theme tune. And it's just, again, very affectionate, I think.
I thought that was brilliant. I hadn't seen that one before this. And, it's just lovely. Just that recreation of the theme in the traffic jam with the baby crying and everything else. I thought that was really lovely.
It sort of reminds me a little bit of the Pitch of Fear Mark Gatiss sketch.
Yes.
A little less sendy up.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really affectionate and really, really nice. And obviously they know Doctor Who's going to sell their magazine. So, let's go for it.
And obviously, Doctor Who can't come back without some sort of tie-in food. So we have a very brief advert for the Doctor Who Froobs, which I remember eating quite a lot of as a 20-something.
I've never eaten a froob. But my nephew absolutely loved them, and particularly loved the Doctor Who one. So, yeah.
It's such a brilliant way to get kids to eat yogurts.
Absolutely.
It's just like, we changed the shape of the vessel they're in and we put a Jadoon on the front of it and David Tennant, and kids go, brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. And I bet that made the BBC a hell of a lot of money.
Absolutely. And it's also, these versions come complete with a free card, I believe.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, in your big multi-pack. So, yeah, everyone likes a free card.
But we're back in the world of walls where you get your Skyray rocket and the little cards. You know, these are more sort of information cards rather than telling a story.
Yeah, we've come all the way round. And the advert is as frenetic.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure the advertising would get through so much now as it did back in 2006, 2007.
Yeah. And then there's an advert for Seen It, the Doctor Who interactive board game.
Hey guys, come look at this!
Step into another dimension and discover the new Seen It Doctor Who edition. A DVD game that's bigger on the inside, with a galaxy of real Doctor Who clips that test your knowledge, trivia questions, and puzzlers from the first 3 series, including
The Evolution of the Daleks!
Seen It Doctor Who edition, now available on Planet Earth.
Yeah, it's Evolution of the Daleks.
I howled at laughter when that kid said that.
Yes.
Which I suppose, as a kid in that era, it is a sensible thing to say, but it just sort of, I just thought it was very funny.
Yeah, me too.
It's the equivalent of a kid in like 66 going, it's Galaxy 4.
Yeah. Creature from the pit.
Trial of a Time Lord, parts 5 to 8. Mind War.
And it does all those wonderful Doctor Who advert things. They go into a shed that's kind of like the TARDIS and go into a recreation of a TARDIS-like set. So there's a 6-sided table for them to sit round and a big screen to see their clips from the DVDs covering seasons 1 to 3 of Doctor Who.
And we get a off-brand version of the theme tune.
We do, yeah, very off-brand.
I can't say I've ever Seen It, but part of me wants to dig it out and it feels like there's a group of us getting together in a pub one day to give it a go.
I'm sure I've got a copy here. And it's incredibly basic questions, so we'll all be fine. Even with the new series stuff, we'll all be fine.
Excellent. The big thing is that Doctor Who of the early noughties finally gets the action figure range that every Doctor Who fan has ever dreamed of.
Yep.
The TARDIS is under attack by the Doctor's enemies, Slitheen, Cassandra, and Sycorax. But don't worry, the Doctor can fight them off with his sonic screwdriver. Oh no! The Daleks have joined the battle! Time to get out of here! Doctor Who action figures and playsets.
From character.
From Grandma Connolly to Destroyed Cassandra, all of them, get their moment to shine. And there are tons and tons of adverts for them.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing some of these, like, not loads, but I remember seeing them and being so jealous that, because they're done in exactly the same way as the 90s adverts for the action figures I used to get for Ghostbusters and RoboCop and Batman and all these things. And there they were out there for all the kids to play with. Obviously, I went and bought them. But,
well, of course, didn't we all?
Yeah. But I absolutely love these. I'm weirdly nostalgic for them, even though I didn't see many of them at the time. They're just brilliant.
Yeah, they're all so much of their time. And I love the fact that there's ones for all the different eras, sort of up to sort of the end of Matt Smith, start of Peter Capaldi.
Yeah.
And so there's a whole series of these little adventures where they're advertising, and now the new Donna Noble figure has arrived and Martha Jones has joined the Doctor and things like that.
It gets a bit more tenuous further down the line where, like, Amelia Pond, Idris, and a silence. It's like, yes, of course. Like, I mean, I like the Doctor's wife as much as the next fan. But, you know, are the kids going, need an Idris?
No, exactly. When we've had adverts with a whole army of Cybermen and fleets of Daleks and things like that. But, I mean, good on character. They go right up for a long time. They've got their they're build it sets as well, so they're knockoff Lego sets,
Yeah,
and things
and
like that, and sort
the
of their
3.5 range as well.
yeah, exactly, sort of right at the sort of their last advert, sort of their last gasp.
Their very last advert is going back to the 5-inch range, and they introduce a 12th Doctor figure.
That's right. Yes.
You know, you don't get anything else with the 12th Doctor
No.
or the 13th. And this is something that it's talked about a lot in sort of fandom of like, oh, Doctor Who isn't as merchandisable as it used to be. But also, action figures are not.
No, kids aren't buying them.
Yeah, kids aren't into action figures. They're very much something for a collector's market now. They're aimed at a sort of 18+ audience in a way. That's not to say there aren't kids without them, but also you got with the financial crash and the decline of Toys R Us and Woolworths, these things stopped being mass sold.
Yeah,
and so they stop being mass produced. So all of a sudden the prices go up, and they're not what kids. I mean, kids' tastes have changed anyway, but it's a chicken and egg scenario of if these things were £5 in the shops, would all kids love them, or were they going a different way anyway with the advent of iPads and things?
It's really difficult to know, isn't it? I mean, in some ways, it's kind of sad that we didn't get another character one advertising the classic series toys, sort of to go on your heritage ones and say, Colin Baker's arrived with Perry and things like that. That would have been wonderful to see, and sort of sell them in the same way, but for the sort of the collector market.
That first wave of classic series figures, I bought them all. I used to live above a Woolworths, and I bought them all from Woolworths in their closing down sale. And so they were supposed to go for like $7.99, but I got them all for like $2.99 and built my giant robot out of them.
Absolutely.
And at the time, I was like, what a bargain. But you actually think, oh, actually, we're seeing the decline of a whole industry.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I think I used to pick the figures up in Sainsbury's when I was doing my food shop and things like that, and stuff, and that just doesn't happen now. So
yeah, I remember buying what's the cat figure that Arden O'Hanlon played in Newer?
Oh yeah, Brannigan.
Getting Brannigan into Tesco's. You know, probably buying some chicken breasts and some broccoli.
Yeah, and just pick up your cat figure at the same time. Laszlo Pig Slave, he's there.
You couldn't move for Pig Slaves
back
in the early noughties. They were everywhere.
Pig Slaves and werewolves.
Yeah. There was a couple of things towards the end of this sort of run of adverts, and I'll stick some links to these in the show notes and stuff. But when they go to the 3.5, I think it's 3.5 size ones, which I never got any of.
No.
I'd completely forgotten about all these cool play sets that they tried to launch.
They look really great, don't they? The Dalek gunship and the Cyberman. Oh no, the Cyberman conversion chamber is the building one, isn't it? So yeah.
But like, they look really cool. You could probably scale them up with your Dapol figures if you wanted to. But
and they've got the sets that join together to form bigger play sets and things like that, hadn't they?
But I think it's a real last grasp, because I remember the articulation wasn't supposed to be as good. The detail wasn't so good.
No.
And so it's just like, how can we make these cheaper but still appeal to kids? And I just guess the market wasn't there.
No, sadly, that was sort of the last little bit.
Yeah, very sad. But it's still really exciting to see all these things. Somebody doing a pretend David Tennant voice.
Yeah.
Run for your life, Rose. And then talking about krillatanes on a kid's advert on ITV. And then like the voice changer helmets and the build your own sonic screwdrivers and stuff. Like brilliant bits of kids merch that, like, say what you want about where people think whether Doctor Who is as successful as it was, what its audience is these days. It's all up for debate. But I don't think, just because of the nature of sort of the toy market now, we'll ever see anything quite as big as that again.
No, I mean, you think the remote control Dalek, the voice changer helmets were the biggest selling toys of those years in the UK, and that's just amazing when you look back and think about it. Those were huge. They were everywhere.
The picture does the round about once a month of a Toys R Us full of Doctor Who toys, doesn't it? And it's always great to see that. But, you know, it sells in different areas and things like that now.
Exactly.
You know, it's still something that's firing on all cylinders when it comes to physical media and books and things like that. And you see all those things that you see in And I mean, you look at somewhere like HMV. I know there's only a few of them now, but they're very much nerd shops. You know?
Definitely, yeah.
The nerds won. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like they're not the record shop that sells videos anymore.
No, exactly.
There's some music stuff at the back, and then you go in and it's Doctor Who and Star
Mm-hmm.
Wars and Marvel and stuff like that. So it's so ingrained in popular culture. It's just the merch is for the more niche fans.
Absolutely.
For everybody else, it's about the consumption of the show.
And that's fine. That's perfectly all right. I love my physical media, so I'm there with that.
Absolutely. So we've sort of come to the end of our journey through adverts. Like, how do we feel at the end of it? Do we feel like Doctor Who should be used sparingly or can be used to peddle any old crap?
I quite like the fact that there's not a huge amount. And I did quite a lot of research to try and find bits and pieces, and this is where I unearthed the strange Mr. Men Doctor Who crossover song. But there isn't a lot out there, and I'd rather like the fact that it's used sparingly, and so it makes all of these really special. And I like the fact that maybe one day Christopher Eccleston is going to go off to New Zealand and do a series of adverts because they've offered him a shed load of money. And,
I hope so.
Yeah, and things like this, that this could still happen now, and that it would be a lovely thing to see. And they'd give him an approximation of his costume and things like that, and he'd be quite happy taking the cash and doing it all.
I had a slightly sort of down moment when I was like, oh, it's sad that we'll probably never see Shooty or Jodie like get their own range. Like, they've got toys, but there'll never be a version of those adverts for those doctors and any future doctors unless like the whole landscape of sort of changes out there.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, you know, some nerd on the internet basically just needs to make those adverts just for me, please.
Absolutely. I'm sure someone will come up with that somewhere.
I'm sure they will. Mm-hmm. Is there anything else you want to say on the adverts of Doctor Who? Any particular favourites? Any standouts?
Well, I mean, as a huge fan of season 17, the Prime adverts are just absolutely amazing, and I think those are just really wonderful. And apparently Tom Baker wrote them.
Really?
According to Andrew Pixley, so it must be true.
If Pixley says it, it's true.
Yeah, I think this is why we get all the references to Gallifrey and the constellation of Kasterborous everywhere, because that's all he ever remembers.
True.
But you know, I really loved those 90s Tom adverts as well. I've got, like you, a real sort of rush of nostalgia for something that I didn't actually see on TV at the time. But there's just some, like you said, all of that coverage about them made them feel like it was something really special at the time. And
absolutely.
Yeah, and just like you said, that little glimpse of 90s Tom Doctor Who is something that we haven't got really anywhere else. And so I think they're sort of worth celebrating for that reason.
Indeed. So, yeah, for me, it's 90s Tom, and then it's the character options adverts, which I just
and they're really magical.
They are, like, really just... What a way to encapsulate like a whole generation's sort of love of Doctor Who in playing with it with figures.
Yeah, exactly. And having those adventures and recreating those, but taking them on new adventures as well.
Indeed. Brilliant. Well, look, Si, thanks for, suggesting this in the first place and then doing a lot of research and coming to chat about it today.
That's all right. I mean, I know quite a lot of this is actually on TV, but, you know, I come and break the format of everyone's podcast, so it's all right.
A lot of it wasn't on the BBC.
No, exactly. Like that. So that's true. Yeah.
And it's a bit of the Doctor Who universe that people don't talk about very often, or you might have a mention of one advert in a podcast somewhere, but it's nice to sort of gather them all together and see what's out there.
Exactly. And I hope, hopefully, sort of off the back of this, some people will go and discover something that they've never seen before and enjoy it. So enjoy Doctor Who's first animation.
Indeed. So where can people find you on the internet should they wish to?
Well, these days I seem to like everyone to have moved over to Blue Sky more than Twitter. So you'll find me as @Si Hart and all the Blue Sky stuff over there. That seems to be where I've settled for now. You can find me on any podcast who will have me, basically. And of course, my own one, the Library of Impossible Things, where I'm talking to fans about their life as a fan and finding some really interesting and wonderful stories from fans across the world.
Excellent, and it's well worth listening to, so please do go track it down if you haven't already. Next time, I'll be joined by J.R. Southall, and we'll be talking about the Auton trilogy. But until next time, I've been Dylan.
I've been Si.
And this has been Doctor Who Too Hot for TV.
Too hot for TV.